We scrolled through, we found another one, put on it, the weather and turn everything together. Oh, yeah. You know, it's starting to be empty.
Yeah, I am just going to record it because my computer needs an update that I can't find right now. So
I always hated that.
Might be more of a work. I don't know.
And then I had it all ready before class. I'm like, all right, this should be good. Start.
It's like if we can get
update this college, I don't have time for that.
Never had it.
I know. So.
Hey, Jerica, how are you? So where do you work? Say that again. Oh, that's right. That's right. So are you off on Wednesday mornings or just nights? Gotcha. So you're getting off work. I mean, you've been off work and then you come here. Gotcha.
I know, I'm having an issue.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to record it and then put it up later. My computer wants to update my video driver to start the stream, and I didn't know this until like 5 minutes ago.
Perfect. Just record it. That'll work great.
And I'll
Is Gina's head in the? You can crank that one up a little higher. I think that middle post will go higher.
No one is in the video, so.
Okay. Were you gonna bring me your steam cleaner?
Were they gonna do it today?
I was figuring I'd have it on Sunday,
Okay.
but you've been in a sick fog for a while, so.
Yeah, I'll bring it.
You had told me that on last Wednesday, so
I told you, Jess.
not a problem.
I'll bring it tonight.
Obviously the smell of chili in my car hasn't bothered me enough to call and
I'll bring it.
drop by. That'd be awesome, thanks.
But you do have it slosh over?
Yeah,
We had that
so,
happen once
so-
when we were bringing some.
yeah, so last Wednesday, right, I made equivalent of like 8 crock pots of chili in 2 roasters. So note, a roaster holds 4 crock pots of chili.
Okay.
Really, I mean, right up to the brim.
So you should only put 3 in.
Right up to the brim. Well, I look at the white pork chili, right, which is pretty thin, and I was like, so, yeah, I should probably scoop out a gallon of that into an ice cream bucket. And you have to walk out to the garage and get an ice cream bucket, wash it out, fill it up, wipe the outside off again, take that out, take the, right, it's just like, it won't spill. Whole lot of stupid.
Nancy had a,
Whole lot
So
of
the
stupid.
15 minutes that it would have taken, now you gotta spend 30 minutes cleaning cars.
I'm pretty sure, we have quite a dip when we come out of our driveway.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I hit that, even though I went super slow. I mean, super slow, I knew it was coming, super slow. I'm pretty sure that's where it sloshed. I don't think it sloshed the rest of the way because I lost an inch and a half of the roaster pan in the back of my van.
Oh my goodness.
So I have smelled cilantro and garlic all week. Yeah, for like a week and a half now. It's just, you know, delicious.
You really should have reminded me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
Yeah, well, it's most pungent when it's, you know, like warm outside and the windows are up for, you know, 6 hours.
Yeah.
See, I have
Fresh
one
air.
too. If she doesn't get you one, I got one.
All right.
Handheld one.
Yeah.
Small one.
Note to self.
for next year.
I'm stupid about this.
Next time I make chili, right, don't bring, yeah, just a whole lot of stupid.
Alright, let's get started. Would anyone be willing to lead us in the hymn or give us the tune?
Da 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 da. Nope. Da 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 da. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Lord Jesus Christ, be present now. Our hearts in true devotion bow. Your Spirit send with light divine, and let your truth within us shine. Unseal our lips to sing your praise in endless hymns through all our days. Increase our faith and light our minds, and set us free from doubt that blinds. Then shall we join the hosts that cry, O holy, holy Lord Most High. And in the light of that blessed place, we then shall see you face to face. All glory to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three in one. To you, O blessed Trinity, be praised now out eternity.
We should have stood up.
Yeah, could have.
Let us pray. Forgive us, Lord, for so often babbling about our own accomplishments. Clear up any confusion arising from our sinful pride, and bring about a new Pentecost in our lives through the study and proclamation of your word. Amen. That prayer almost tripped me up. It was like a tongue twister almost. The very first part. So last week we focused mainly on Noah and the flood and the events following the fall of creation. So we talked about Cain and Abel the week before that. Last week we talked about more of the effect of sin in the world by talking about the flood. So our review question is, how is God's wrath made evident in the flood, and how is his grace shown in the same event?
Well, his wrath was he killed all land creatures and humans except Noah's 3 sons and their wives.
Mm-hmm.
And no one is
And then the other part of it is he had Noah build an ark and put 2 of every land creature on the ark.
Yeah. So his wrath is shown in that he was wiping out all of, most of sinful creation. So a lot of the animals, all humans except Noah and his family. But that's where the grace is also shown at the same time. He spared, he had Noah collect 2, like 7 of every kind of animal, so that they can fill the earth after the flood is over. And then through Noah's lineage, specifically through Shem, that is where the line of Jesus will come. So that promise is still there, that Jesus, the lineage of Jesus is still protected for future generations. Right. Day 1 wants us to read Genesis 11, 1 through 9, so why don't we go around and read that. I'll start. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words, and as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there.
They said to each other, "Come, let us make bricks and make them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth."
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible.
Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city.
That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth.
So question 1 says, the events in this section account for the dispersion referred to in chapter 10, described in the table of nations. So as subsequent generations moved eastward after the flood to settle in the fertile land, Fertile Crescent, we read about humanity's first but not last attempt to build a one-world society in which the true God was to be excluded. This is an interesting question. What ancient entrepreneur may have organized this building project?
Nimrod?
Yeah, that's what I have. Which is funny because the notes of this study said that Nimrod was a great builder, but the verse says that he's a great hunter. But I guess it was from his household that Babel was founded. Question 2. What are the stated reasons for attempting to build this city and tower?
Making a name for themselves.
To make a name for themselves.
They didn't want to be dispersed.
And they did not want to be dispersed. And I thought it was interesting that they said, let us make bricks and mortar. And that's like the same phrase that God uses when he says, let us make man, let us make. So I feel like in a sense they're trying to inflate their own status and saying, we can build, we can make things for our own namesake. So I thought that was an interesting connection there.
Vicar,
Yes.
question, how much time has elapsed from the flood to this time? Because obviously they're totally sinful.
Yeah,
And adults.
to be honest, I don't know.
Right?
I'm not entirely sure, like how many generations have passed or how many years have passed.
Well, it had to be a while to get the
Yeah.
size of the crowd built up. I mean,
So it's probably been, I would say a few generations, because if Nimrod were the one where Babel, if he's kind of like the patriarch of Babel, then he had to have lived a while to start his own family and his own tribe, and then that would have to grow also. But I had a thought that maybe after the flood, all the humans are like, okay, maybe we should like stay together and protect ourselves because this crazy flood just happened, or this crazy flood happened to our grandparents or what have you. So maybe they're trying to come together to, in a way, protect themselves, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so I think what's going on, so don't confuse Babel with the Babel that we just read. So in 10 verse 10, when it says the beginning of his kingdom, Nimrod's kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Babel, that's Babylon. That's the ancient city of Babylon, or turns into the ancient city of Babylon.
Okay.
So this isn't necessarily the Tower City, necessarily. I mean, it could be the Tower City, ultimately, and then, it may well be the Tower of Babylon, right? Tower City, Babylon, and then from there, some probably stayed, is the idea, and then others dispersed out, built other cities, villages, settlements that grew into cities, and the cities that are listed in Genesis 10 are sort of some of the important ancient cities of Assyria and Babylonia. So So if Nimrod founded Babel and this Tower of Babel is Babel, right, then Nimrod is the founder, that's where we get Nimrod as the founder of the ancient city of Babylon. I mean, that's why we say that Nimrod then is the founder of Babylon. But then he also founded these other cities. So as people's languages changed and they dispersed, right, it seems that Nimrod went off and established other cities as well, maybe in his kingdom, right? So Nimrod became kind of the first king of the Babylonian Empire as it was here, and then others spread out and populated the earth from there. But I think that's where we get the whole idea that Nimrod is kind of the founder of Babylon.
So would he have
etc.
experienced the confusion of language?
Well, I
Or
would
is that
think,
what you were?
I would think so.
Okay.
I mean, I would think that's him, right?
Mhm.
So 11 kind of, right, so 11 goes just a little bit back in time. So in chapter 10, it goes through all the descendants and the cities that they built and how they spread out and all of this. But 11 goes back to, hey, they're all one people right now and one land, and so now we confuse the languages, and then what happens in 10 happens at the end of 11. I think
Okay.
that's what it points to.
That would make sense too. Alright. Question 3. How did the last words of Genesis 11:4 constitute a willful act of disobedience to God's command in Genesis 9:1?
Hard to build the earth, if you stay in one place.
Exactly right. They wanted to stay in one location, but God in Genesis 9:1 gave them the command of be fruitful and multiply. So fill the earth was their command, but they decided not to. In question 4, even when something magnificent is purportedly built to God's glory, why do you think it is so easy to direct the honor to people instead of God?
We think we're in control when
Mhm.
anything is done, and therefore it's us who did it as opposed to
Yeah.
a blessing from God
Yeah.
that is accomplished.
We think that we're the ones who are in control, that we are the benefactors of our own skill and blessings in our own life.
The sin of pride.
The sin of pride gets in the way, you know.
Most boast about their own accomplishments and don't give the glory to God.
Yeah. We often boast about our own accomplishments instead of giving glory to God. All good answers. And ultimately, because of our sinful nature, this gets in the way. We might, start off making something to glorify God, but after we're done, we want to look at it and feel the pride for it and be like, look at what I made. Look at how good it is, or look at how beautiful it is. So our sinful pride gets in the way because we forget what our original purpose was when we were creating whatever we were creating for God.
And I think that word purportedly built to God's glory, I like that answer that you had, because it's not, sometimes we're building because we think God wants this beautiful building, but did he really want that, or did he want you to give the money to someone else to
Yeah.
feed?
This made me think about this whole one world order that people are trying to move forward with today. I mean, we're moving toward, well, we're in one economy already, and people are being dispersed. But is there any likeness to what's happening today to what God did back then? I mean, 25 years ago, I had this conversation with someone he said, never let it happen. It's like, it's happening.
Never let what happen?
A one-world society happen with all the power and control. With one.
But are we trying to be God? Are we building ourselves up to be
Yeah.
God?
Yeah, so, do you have any, do you want to take a stab at answering this, or defer?
Yeah, I don't
Always
know
nice,
exactly.
test the vicar.
Yeah.
Test the vicar.
I would say that maybe that's like going towards this one world society, one economy, one language, you know, is the direction that humanity seems to be wanting to go. But I'm not entirely sure if this would be going against God's will for us now, just because we have filled the earth and we have multiplied. So it almost seems inevitable that this would happen, so I'm not entirely sure.
So there's a huge difference between then and now. Then, God's people lived in a theocracy. God is king. So Nimrod, who is first of the mighty men, a hunter before the Lord, really probably illustrates that. The Lutheran Study Bible has a note on this. First mighty man, powerful warrior or community leader. Nimrod was the first after the flood to move civilization in a new direction. Mighty hunter, hunting or warrior activities were the first steps towards dominating men and using them for conquest. Large organized hunting parties might be in mind. Nimrod's reputation was widespread and emulated by others. Before the Lord, his conduct may have defied God. So it really seems like Nimrod, if he's the founder of Babylon, which 10 seems to indicate, and if the Tower of Babel is the Tower of Babylon, right, and all of that fits together, it seems that Nimrod actually is setting himself up as king. And so this is what's wrong. The people are, we often say the people are being God, again, God to themselves, right? Let us see our accomplishments, etc. But it's probably, it's probably almost more who is king kind of a thing than anything else, right? It's not necessarily the people are making themselves out to be God. They are. It's first commandment kinds of stuff, but it probably has to do with the push away from God as king, right? So God says, yeah, we're not going to do this because for my people, I'm king. It's a theocracy. We do not live in a theocracy anymore. God is not the ruler. When he bends his will to Israel, who wants a king like the nations, he says, fine, you can have a king like the nations and you'll really regret it, but remember, I'm still your king. And David understood that. Saul didn't understand it, but David understood it. Solomon kind of understood it. Some of the other kings understood that God is still king, God is still sovereign. And we believe that today also, but we don't live in a theocracy. And so if our world comes to one language, honestly, I think that's a great thing. How much easier would it be to share the gospel if everybody spoke English? Duh. I don't think Christians need to have a problem with a one world government or one world language or anything like that, because we don't live then in a theocracy. We live in under governments that God establishes and that God ordained, good or bad, right? They're governments established by God for our good, and so we don't live in a theocracy. Things are they're not exactly the same. I don't think God would have a problem with one language. If you think about it, when did Jesus come into the world? When the time had fully come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law. Part of that time had fully come is that Greek was spoken throughout the known world. Greek was spoken throughout the known world. And that was much easier for the proclamation of the gospel and the spread of Christianity. Christianity would have spread much, much, much slower if there would not have been a universal language at the time. So, I don't think we as Christians have to have problems with universal languages. God doesn't condemn the world in the time of St. Paul for having one spoken language. There's no There's no condemnation anywhere in scripture for that. I mean, there was one government in most of the known world. I mean, the Roman Empire was the largest empire in history. I mean, it spanned so many people groups, and Greek was taught. I mean, everybody learned Greek. So, I mean, I don't know, God doesn't condemn any of that in the New Testament. So I don't think we can impose anything today. I don't know what your author is, I mean, asking really. I don't think we can impose anything today and say, oh, a world government is not God pleasing, or a world language is not God pleasing. I don't think that's an issue, right? We're talking then, it was different then. God's people were supposed to recognize that God was king. Noah and his family recognized, and here comes along Nimrod, who wants to be king. And is. I mean, he establishes Babylon, and he establishes other cities, and then others established the Assyrian Empire and the Mesopotamian Empire, and all of these empires, because Nimrod is then emulated by all kinds of other people. That's what's not God pleasing, right? That others set themselves up to be king and defy God.
We have that today with
Absolutely.
Russia, China.
Absolutely. I mean, we have that today, right? And all of those unbelieving nations, well, all of those unbelieving leaders in the world are answerable because they are not to be that way, right? God does not establish their governing authorities to rule in the way that many of them rule, right? Putin is going to burn in hell. I mean, no, we don't hope. We do not hope that he does. We pray that he repents and turns to the Lord. That's our hope. And even if it's on his deathbed, after all he's done, we rejoice, praise be to God, that he repented and turned to the Lord and is in heaven with us. But as of right now, Putin is going to answer for the atrocities that he is committing. Hitler, presumably, I mean, if he didn't have a deathbed conversion somehow, right? Hitler has answered for his atrocities and is in hell, right? I mean, and those are sad things, but the governing authorities that abuse the power that God gives to them will answer for their wickedness and unbelief, to be certain. We can't judge, we can't know for sure, but actions would model the faith or the lack of faith that they have, right? And so we can be concerned for them. I'm very concerned that when Putin dies, he will be in hell for his wickedness, right? Because that's not right, that's not how they set them. They're setting themselves up over and above God, whether consciously or unconsciously, right? That's what they're doing, just like Nimrod did. Set himself up over and above God, and led his people in the way of wickedness ultimately, and then others emulated him and formed their own nations that were apart from God, right? And there's Yahweh followers all the way through. I mean, this isn't like the entire world is now wicked again, right? There's Yahweh followers mixed in. I mean, there has to be Yahweh followers mixed in. But when God calls Abraham and his family, his father's family, quite possibly worship Yahweh, but also a bunch of other gods. And God tells Abraham, me, I'm the God, right? I'm the one that you worship. And Abraham was like, okay.
Question 5 says that the Tower of Babel may have been an early ziggurat, the top of which was considered the home of a god, and that may have been used to cast horoscopes. Read Deuteronomy 18:10-13. Which do you think more angered the Lord, the haughty attitude of those who built the tower, or the intended purpose for which the tower was to be built, or to be used?
Like, because the intended purpose an abomination, which to me is a, you know,
Harsh.
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Not happy about either, but.
I said that too, the people are gonna put their heart and trust elsewhere than in the true God. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's why I say it was the intended purpose.
Yeah, I think, it's hard, I think, to me, I don't think there's one or the other, because both, even though they don't have like the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not have, no other gods, still the law is written on their heart, and they are to worship God alone.
They're just a few generations from the flood.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally a few generations from the flood. They know the stories. They know the stories,
So,
and they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not
it's
worshiping,
astounding.
they're not worshiping Him alone, and then they're also using their pride and arrogance to elevate themselves above God, in a sense, so. I would say, yes, the answer. Question 6. Although there are well over 3,000 languages and dialects today, there was only one language then. Read Psalm 2, 1-6, in light of Genesis 11, 5-9. Imagine a laborer the next morning asking another person to hand him a brick. Why would loss of common language cause people to relocate?
So having lived in Japan
Lived in Japan.
for 3.5 or 3 years, living where you don't understand what anybody else is saying is extremely stressful. If you don't have people you can go back, I could go home and talk to my family, I could talk to the other military people, we all spoke English. But if I went to a store, it was sign language.
I was thinking it's hard even to get a pedicure if you don't speak the language, you know, they're like, you know, you kick your head.
Yeah, I mean, we have a little bit here, but actually living in a foreign country is.
When I was traveling to Indonesia, Malaysia and that, we used to sit in the meetings with the Indonesians, and they all teach English as a second language, so they all spoke English. But then all of a sudden, they would start talking to each other and look around and they'd start laughing at us. What did they say? You didn't know what they were.
Because they just slipped back into it.
What's that?
They just slipped back into it.
No, that was
They
an
knew
intentional
something.
thing.
Oh, intentional.
They made fun of somebody, you didn't know who
Oh, man.
on our side of the table they were making fun of, but that's
Oh,
what
that's
they were
funny.
doing.
Well, when we were living in Hawaii, we would go down shopping into the flea market, and it wasn't well, true Hawaiian wasn't spoken so much, but.
I was gonna say, that was America, Nancy.
But there were Filipinos, they have different dialects, but you had Japanese and you had Filipinos, and like I told Stephanie, they could be smiling at you and cursing you at the same time, and you would have no clue.
I had a friend who once said that she always assumed that if somebody in her hearing is speaking in a foreign language, they're talking nasty about her, and I'm like, well, there's a little arrogance.
Well, that's probably, that might be true. My mother's
It might
Mexican.
be true, but
Because,
just to assume
assume.
everyone.
well, my mother's,
I'm not that
she's
important.
passed away now, so. God rest her heaven. My mother and her sister, she's Mexican, and so her sisters, when they would go out shopping, and my cousin and I, we knew when they started speaking Spanish amongst each other, they were talking about sales clerks. And they always were. They were talking something about the sales clerks. Hey, she's not paying up to, we can't even get to her, she's not even, oh, look at me. And they were talking about somebody else.
But
And
not
we
everybody
went to
does.
her, we're like, that's not very nice, they know you're talking about them. Because we couldn't understand them either. 'cause we didn't
But
speak.
you know, when I went shopping with
funny.
someone in Japan, I spoke in English to my friend. I wasn't talking about any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would contend you don't even have to speak a different language. If you whisper, you do this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
It can be.
It causes
That's
suspicion.
rude in my opinion.
It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just the living living among people who speak a different language makes it difficult to really live among them, right?
Yeah, and be
Makes it
true.
difficult
Yeah.
to really live among them. So if you're not willing to learn the language,
Or unable.
or unable to learn the language, right, then, yeah, there's a high pull not to live there permanently, right?
And this
It's
is,
very-
nobody can talk to anybody.
Yeah, imagine trying to find someone.
So
There's
you
probably
go
like one
home
or
to
two,
your
it's like, who
wife
can
and
speak this?
you cannot say what's for dinner and have her understand.
Mhm.
If-
You know?
You think that's how it was? Nobody could talk to anybody?
Oh, I thought it was
or
groups.
Family?
I think
thought
it was
like
groups.
There's
families
probably,
communicating.
I would guess that God didn't break up at least immediate families.
So
But
that
he
they
might have
may
broke
not
up-
understand
he
what-
might have
Brothers and
He
sisters.
might have
and-
broke up
and
clans,
sons.
he
Yeah.
might have broke up brothers and sisters, we really don't know. We really don't know what that dispersal looked like, but, I mean, Genesis 10 would probably indicate that right there were probably at least a dozen languages, right? Because if people emulating Nimrod took their language group and started their own city, right? And so you can kind of count, I mean, there were probably at least a dozen languages that God frustrated them with, and maybe more, right? We don't really know. But yeah, can you imagine, I do this thing with confirmation kids sometimes as like a, I don't know, just a fun little starter where I give everybody an animal and then shut off the lights and they have to make the animal sound and find their group. That's what this would have been like, right? I mean, it would have been, right? And so the room is full of oinking and clucking and mooing and, I mean, it's
I've
pretty,
done that before.
it's pretty funny,
It's
pitch
like-
black, right? You wanna do it when it's
Yeah.
absolutely pitch black. But that's what this would have been like, right? I mean, people just speaking other languages going, does anybody understand what we're saying? I mean, can you, I can't even, the frustration of those languages would have been unbelievable. And I mean, you're talking thousands of people too, right? I mean,